Probably the most important question you need answered as this course begins is, why is this course important? Why is it important for you, and why is it important for teachers in general? Well, I think that Carl Sagan alludes to the reason why a class like this is important in his video. And he goes on to elaborate a little bit more on his fundamental message. And I want to read just a short excerpt from the book that he was actually sort of being interviewed about in the video above. But in this excerpt, Dr. Sagan states, "Science is more than a body of knowledge. It's a way of thinking, a way of skeptically interrogating the universe with a fine understanding of human fallibility. If we are not able to ask skeptical questions, to be skeptical of those in authority, then we're up for grabs for the next charlatan. Science is a candle in the dark." I couldn't agree more with that statement. And I have to say that it seems to me that right now, at this point in American history, the current administration is legitimately trying to blow out the candle of science. I know that might sound hyperbolic or a little extreme, but let me give you two really good examples of what I'm talking about, okay? As I'm sure you're aware, the current administration is trying to eliminate the Department of Education. And I had a student recently ask me, well, what would that result in? What would be the ramifications of the Department of Education just disappearing, at least at the federal level? And I won't address sort of a lot of the civil rights protections that will be compromised, or a lot of accountability measures that happen at the federal level with respect to school systems in general and the people who work in them. But I will address something specifically related to science. So the Department of Education includes an Institute of Education Sciences, referred to as IES. And that is an institute that is actively involved in educational research and evaluating educational research. Now, as of today, approximately 80 to 90% of all research contracts in the IES have been terminated. And essentially, the IES programs have been shut down. That includes the dismissal of the entire advisory board for the IES. Now, I'm sure you've heard of the National Science Foundation. They're not part of the Department of Education directly, but they do a lot of work in the area of science education, STEM education, math education, and it has been a very important source of support for hundreds and hundreds of education programs over the last couple of decades. Now, since April, all operations have been frozen for the National Science Foundation. 1,700 grants have been canceled, and other grants that were in the application process have been halted. And so, for a lot of important education-related programs in science and math and technology, computer science especially, that is in the process of being sort of frozen or eventually likely eliminated. And what's really frustrating about all of this is these cuts to resources seem to have been done without a lot of thought by outsiders. The Department of Government Efficiency, and who has no connection to what's going on in these organizations, but things are just cut. So I believe that we're moving towards some really dangerous times if we don't do something about it. And one thing that you can do about it, and that I can do about it, is learn more about the value of science and what it can do for us personally and what it can do for our profession, for our teaching profession. So I think that this class fundamentally is important for you because it is a science class. And a science class is very important in your educational journey right now. After all, you are earning a Master's of Science degree in education. That is, most of you are. And what that means sort of fundamentally is that all of the coursework and all the experiences that you're going to have as a graduate student, as a Master of Science student, are going to be rooted or in science, in scientific evidence, scientific principles, science as a way of thinking about your profession. And so this class is very important foundationally to your graduate studies. It should help contextualize everything that you're going to be learning about as you progress in your program. And on a related note, it's going to shine a spotlight on science in the real world and the practice of science in the real world and the benefits that we have of science in the field of education in the real world. It will help you better understand how we know what we know and what we need to do to understand things better. And all of this can lead to an improvement in your professional practice as an educator. So I believe this is a very important class. Now, this class constitutes 4 kind of distinct parts related to science. The first part addresses science and scientific research, and that's what you're going to be examining this week in week 1. Part 2 of the class focuses on quantitative or positivist research models, and you'll learn more about that when we get to it. Part 3 addresses some important ideas and concepts related to interpretive or qualitative research models. And finally, in part 4 of the class, you will learn more about the most common types of scientific endeavors for in education, and that is the mixed method models. And as part of that, you'll learn a little more about how subjects are sampled for those studies and measurement techniques and that kind of thing. So this class is sort of broken up into those 4 main parts. Now, I want you to know that in this class, my role as a teacher is to help orient you to some of the important concepts and ideas, to elaborate on some things, to provide some practice over the important skills that I've identified as really being able to aid you in your professional education journey. But I won't sort of position myself as the ultimate expert in all the research models that you're going to be investigating. I'm leaving that expertise up to the authors of this text, and so these are your lectures. They're not going to come from me. They're going to come from this book, and I think this book is very readable. And I have assigned not the entire book, but there are specific sections that you will need to read and process. And there are some other experts that we're going to be using to help contextualize all of the research-based concepts in this class. And it's a book called Understanding How We Learn. And these authors do a really great job of communicating some fundamental, the results of research, the application of research to understanding the ways people learn and what you can do as an educator to help people learn. And so this is an excellent context, and it's very, very easy reading. And I love how they put this book together with all of the graphics that they use to help organize the important information. So these are the experts, and these are the fundamental lectures. You won't be hearing from me so much about that. But I will say that at its heart, the context for this class is really creation oriented, because in this class you will be assigned 4 projects. You're allowed to drop 1 project, so you're required to do 3 of the 4, and I think they're all basically they have a lot of creativity in them, as you're going to be looking at things and looking for things and coming up with things yourself. So there's a lot of, I think, creativity and online research that's applied in the projects. There are also 4 exams, 4 multiple choice exams that address all of the fundamental content in the class. And again, you'll be able to drop your lowest score there. So 3 of the 4 will count towards your final grade. And those are the basic elements that are going to be assessed and used to evaluate you and to assign grades for you. So I want to end this course introduction by quoting another great science writer, Isaac Asimov, and he noted that there is a single light of science, and to brighten it anywhere is to brighten it everywhere. And so I believe that every act of science that we do in our profession brightens the entire profession. And hopefully we'll be able to maintain and sustain the candle of knowledge and the candle of professionalism. And we will emerge from this darkness someday, hopefully sooner than later. So now it's time to start week 1.